Hey guys, Josh Olfert back with another video, and today I want to tell you about how I feel money actually does make you happy. Time to think like an investor. So for a lot of people, that might seem like a really controversial statement. You know, money makes you happy. So does that deny happiness to people who feel like they don't have money? Well, not so much. When I was 18 years old, I was fresh out of high school and I had to think about my career. And for me, I wanted to become a financial professional. I wanted to get into the investment business and help people figure out their finances. That's what I was good at, that's what I liked. But in order to do that, there was a massive laundry list of different things I had to do in order to get there. I had to take exams, I had to, find a job offer, I had to sit with mentors and figure out what would allow me to get the job. So one of my mentors said, okay, you need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to get in front of people, how to approach people, how to close a deal. That's almost really the prerequisite to doing a job that requires you to build a clientele. So what I did is I thought, okay, what is the biggest ticket item I can sell? And what came to mind was, you know what, I could probably get a job selling cars. So at 18, I entered the car industry. I had a connection that got me into the business. And it was really fun for the first 3 or 4 months because it's a new domain. You're learning something completely different. You're getting tossed into a world where you're kind of fending for yourself. You have to learn as you go. And for me, it was an enlightening experience and I learned so much. But the thing about the car business for me is that every single month on the first, I started back at zero. It didn't matter how great your June was. If July rolled around and it was July 1st, you got to do it all over again. So it was about 7 or 8 months into this job when I really started to lose my excitement for it because the job wasn't really paying me that much. And as exciting as it was for a little bit, I had bills. I had a mortgage at this point. I had expenses. I was paying for a phone bill. I was paying for the gas and the insurance on my vehicle. I had literally a mortgage payment to pay. And if I didn't pay it, the bank would come and take my house. So there was pressure. And after a while of, not making enough money, I started to think to myself, this has started to get really tough on me. And the career started to grind away at me and grind away at me. And it came down to the point where I was driving to work in the mornings and I would turn on my favorite music and I would grip the steering wheel and I would have to recite gratitudes. I would have to talk about all the things in my life that I was grateful for just to get over the existential dread of going to work in the morning. That's how much I disliked it. Every time I would roll up to work, I felt like, oh my gosh, do I have to do 8 hours of this again? And I had to do it in order to pay the bills. And for me, I was in this period of life where every single month I had to gerrymander my finances. If I get my tenant to pay me next month's rent for a discount, I can put that here. And maybe if I get this person to pay me back, I can take this. And if I earn this commission, and I would have to go through like a notebook and an Excel sheet for 6 months of my life to try to figure out, can I make ends meet? Is this gonna happen? And it was just the weight of the world. So I was doing a job I didn't really love. I wasn't even making ends meet, and it just felt like all this pressure was on me at one time. And in that moment, I definitely had a lower baseline of happiness in my life. That time in my life, when things got bad, let's say there was some external issue outside of work, it would get really bad because I had nothing to fall back on. I didn't like my life and I didn't like my work, and there was nowhere I could go to find something that I really enjoyed doing other than the weekend. So luckily, this was coming to the end for me. I had finished my exams now. I had been working at this job that I disliked, but finally I was at the end of it. I had done all the requirements. I'd satisfied all the requirements of potential employers, and I finally got hired at a financial institution where I could do the job I actually wanted. And even there, for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, while I was trying to get things moving, I was still in that same position. Now here's something funny. It's funny when you are trying to give financial advice to other people and your own finances are a mess. That's kind of like the first 6 months for every financial advisor because you're building your own business. You're trying to build an income off of clients, off of a clientele that you can serve, but you don't have your finances in order either because you are not making money. So it's this very weird paradox. But as I've mentioned before, I had a lot of different things work out for me at once. So when I was 20 years old, all of these different deals I had begun to line up in my job as a financial professional started to hit all at once. And pretty much in the course of a few weeks, I went from being this person who had to move figures around every month to make ends meet to someone who had way more money than they ever had before or knew what to deal with. And in that moment, you can understand how the weight was just lifted off my shoulders. I felt so much lighter. I felt fantastic because for once over the last 12 to 18 months, I wasn't gonna have to figure out how ends were gonna meet. I wasn't gonna have to rely on a certain employer or a certain person or a certain thing to work out in order for me to be okay. And in that moment, I can't deny that money was happiness to me. In that moment, I could feel my level of gratitude just increase. My baseline happiness increased. And when something bad happened in my external life, the low wasn't nearly as low because I had this sense of financial security that, I felt robust. I felt if anything comes at me, I can afford it. If my tenants aren't paying the rent, or if some sort of emergency happens, my car breaks down, I have the cash to pay for that. I can handle that now, whereas before it would have ended me. So that feeling of having more than enough was a new level of happiness for me. But it didn't last, and that is the problem. And this is where the cliche comes from, that money doesn't buy happiness, because the happiness only lasted as long as the money did. And the interesting thing here is that money can almost serve as it's almost like freezing. It's almost like getting a shot of freezing into your body before a surgery. Money allows you to take all the things in your life that aren't necessarily the way you want them, whether it's a relationship or past trauma or family or something someone said to you, all those things that build up. Money can almost act as a numbing solution to all of your problems. So for a long time, money can bring you happiness while you numb it. But when the numbing solution runs out, when the pile of money runs out, you find yourself back right where you were before this all happened. And that's where I found myself. I found myself after that year being on top of the world, driving in my car, singing songs and being overjoyed because I never had to feel this way again. I found myself right back in the spot that I was before. And it wasn't until I realized that it isn't money per se that makes you happy. But what does bring lasting fulfillment, what does bring lasting happiness, a sense of just kind of a higher baseline feeling of gratitude and a higher baseline of happiness, is the idea of financial independence. You see, it's not the money and the possessions and the things that it buys that makes you happy, but being financially independent allows you the personal agency of making your own decisions and choosing to spend your time how you like. What is it that you like? For me, I love hobbies. I love to golf. I love things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love to read. I love to learn. I love all these sorts of things. And if I can find more time in my life to do those things, I'm way more engaged in the present in those moments, but I also feel this sense of engagement and happiness with life when I'm spending more of my time doing things that fill me instead of spending my time trying to make ends meet. So for me, when I was able to develop different sources of income, for instance, I would do consulting with people and I would help them start their business, or I would help them advise them on their finances. Then I had my work where I was working as a financial advisor. I had rental property that was earning me sources of income. Now I didn't have to rely on one single thing to bolster me, to kind of hold me up. When I had all of these different sources, I felt like no issue with one of them could derail the situation. So in addition to that, the feeling of being able to control the time I had. When you're financially independent, and what that means is independent from any one source of income or any one boss or any one person, you have your own sovereignty. You're your own person. And when you're your own person, you get to make your own decisions about how you spend your time. And you get to make your own decisions about how you choose to self-actualize. So one thing I love to reference here is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow was a philosopher who came up with this idea that there is a hierarchy of what a human needs to have in order to feel that sense of fulfillment. Obviously, first at the bottom, you need food, you need water, you need air, right? Like if you don't have those basics, it's really hard to be fulfilled. And next, once you've accumulated that baseline, you need some sort of emotional stability. You need a career, you need a vocation, you need some sense of duty and purpose and something you're working towards. You need that psychological stuff. And then afterwards, you need to feel some sense of recognition and status, and you need to feel as if your work is being appreciated. And lastly, once you have all these needs, like physical needs and emotional needs, you need the ability to self-actualize. And what that means is to become the best version of yourself. Now, for me, when I was working at the car dealership, the idea of becoming the best version of myself was almost impossible because I was scrambling to do all these sorts of things to just get by, to just pass the baseline. But when I had multiple sources of income and I wasn't relying on one thing, I could spend my time fixing myself, fixing the issues that I had, fixing relationships, fixing issues in my family, fixing the things in my brain that weren't correct. When I had personal agency over my life and my decisions, I could commit my time and my energy to actually becoming the kind of person that I was okay being and happy to be. And I think that if there's any one way that money actually can create lasting happiness, it's not in being rich or having possessions or buying this thing or getting a promotion. It's in becoming a sovereign person and becoming independent, which allows you to spend your time doing the things you want, solving the problems you want, becoming the person you want to become. So to me, it is possible that someone can experience fulfillment or they can have a really happy life that they enjoy, without money. But I think that's just playing on hard mode. You're choosing to play the game on the hardest mode possible because you're building your fulfillment on a shaky foundation where at any point it might be derailed. So I believe that there is an ethical use for having money and building financial independence because it allows you to become the kind of person that is helpful to you and is helpful to the people around you and to your community. So thank you so much for the support, guys. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for more videos just like this every single week. Until next time.